as I mentioned in the beginning, Thomas is really unique in the real estate industry. He's very successful. We're going to share with you some of the things that he does. But the two key areas is differentiation is critical. When you, as whatever business you are, consumers are always looking for what's different, but different in a way of being different better. So differentiating yourself and bringing a superior value to consumers. And we're going to talk about that. And then the other part is how Thomas diversifies his clientele and his business, because he does it in a significant way. But Thomas, let's start with this differentiation. Is this something that was by design, or is it just something that kind of morphed? By the way, how long have you been in the real estate industry?
Well, great question. And first of all, thank you for having here, Mark and Serena. So I'd like to kind of start off that I've been an agent for about 4 years, but I've been in real estate for over 15 years. And what that means is that I bought my first property about 15 years ago, and I quickly put a tenant inside. And that was my first taste of being a landlord. And the first kind of light bulb went off at that time, saying, wow, someone else is paying for my mortgage. So that was the trigger where I was like, okay, this is how to create wealth. Yes, I can invest in the stock markets, but real estate is quite unique. And having someone else fund my future retirement was kind of like a game changer for me. So from that point, going forward over the years, I just started acquiring more and more property. I'm more of a long-term buy and hold type of investor. I've done some flips and some other strategies, but for the most part, I buy and hold. And what I've seen is that over the years, the prices continuously rise, and rents go up, and then so all the stuff that you've been educating, teaching agents and people in general is true. So when we met about 2.5 years ago, and then you did that presentation, it was like, you're speaking my language. Yeah. So for me, it's like, all right, I need to sit down and kind of absorb more of what you're sharing, because it makes sense to me, because I've seen it in my own life.
Yeah, you've lived it. Yeah.
I've lived it.
Yeah.
So it's much different than just reading a book saying, oh, I should do that. Whereas for me, I've gone through this for years now. So I got my real estate license thinking, okay, well, I've been in real estate investor for a long time, and I've worked with countless agents in the past.
Hey, let me pause you for a second. 15 years ago was right before the meltdown, right?
Yeah.
It was right around that time. So what was going through your mind about when the financial meltdown was happening? Because you were did you make your first investment right before the meltdown?
Or? 04. So it was quite some time before the meltdown. Well, a little bit before the meltdown. So 04 was the first property.
But you experienced that meltdown, though.
Yeah, thankfully it didn't affect me a big way, because I was not getting mortgages with with nothing down type of thing. At that point I was like, save 20% down and do it that way. Whereas now, fast forward, yes, once you're more experienced, there's other creative ways of doing it. But yeah, thankfully, for myself, I was just buying properties like one a year or one every few years.
You didn't let the meltdown scare you, though.
No, obviously. At that point, everyone's freaking out. Yeah. I was working for a company, so there was layoffs, that sort of thing. But in terms of my portfolio, I was thankful that my tenants kept paying rent. Mortgage payments kept going down, and then I quickly saw that through 2010, 11, prices started adjusting back up, and then come 2014, 15, prices were all
off to the races.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where. For me, it makes all sense. Everything Mark's talking about and Serena's talking about, creating wealth, creating passive income, helping your clients understand, there's ways that, you need to consider real estate for your future, for your retirement and all that stuff.
So how do you market yourself, to differentiate yourself from what the kind of traditional agent does?
Sure. I quickly realized that we all know, there's hundreds of agents, if not thousands of agents in Orange County. And for myself, with my experience as an investor, I felt like I need to share this, because that's what I know. I'm not necessarily a door knocker, cold caller. I just felt like, well, I have this value of experience I've gone through. Why don't I share it with people? So initially, just going to network here in Orange County, meeting people, and then kind of sitting down with people one-on-one. And grabbing coffee and understanding where they were in their lives, and then helping them understand, okay, how can we create a plan for and incorporate real estate into that. So for myself now, after all these years, it's just getting the message out. Ultimately, I think social media is huge. So I really leverage like Facebook and Instagram. I share content. I interview people kind of like what you do in industry, if it's like a title rep or or whoever, another investor, helping people understand, wow, okay, so it makes me look like, oh, it helps people understand, the audience, okay, those are things that not everyone's talking about, and it piques their interest to reach out to me. So it's not me always kind of like chasing them. The people will kind of reach out to me with a DM, say, hey, I like what you shared. I'm thinking of buying a property, you know, and then that kind of, it brings in the leads, and then you sit down over a Zoom call or in person. And ultimately for me, it's just understanding them. Everyone's situation is unique. So helping people understand, what their options are, right? And I think that's what these consults you do, you know, we sit down, because it's like, well, are they a first-time home buyer, or are they like 60 years old and thinking of downsizing and need some income for retirement? Like, everyone's at a different point in their lives.
Well, see, to me, Thomas, the critical thing that you just communicated, and I want to make sure everybody really grasps this, because I bet most of you didn't hear this word that Thomas just shared, but it is critical, is he talked about, use the word plan.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about a plan, okay? You know, when I talk to agents and I ask the question, what do you sell? They say houses. I sell houses. What do you talk about? Houses, bedrooms, baths, prices, that's it, right? And my point is they're falling into the trap that real estate is a commodity. And if you're a salesperson selling a commodity, you're in a difficult place, because you're one of, you know, basically in Orange County, it's like 35,000 agents. So how do you position yourself? How do you communicate in your marketing, in your conversations, this concept of a plan?
Well, I think examples are great. People want to hear a story of like, yeah, this individual, you know, we put them into a duplex, they're living in one unit, renting out the other side, and they're bringing in some additional subsidized income from that. Or sitting down with someone, sold their property, and now they're utilizing to go buy a couple of rental properties. So I think examples are great. People can kind of see, well, I could do that. I think that's important. You don't want to talk too high level with people, but if you can show testimonials or examples of people that you've helped, people resonate with that and understand kind of like, all right, this is something I can even do.
Yeah. You know, Thomas, let's show Thomas's Facebook page.
I actually put it up while he was talking.
Oh.
Social media, yeah.
Okay. All right. You know,
I'll put it in.
yeah, Thomas created a Facebook
Group page.
Group page.
Yeah.
Called Real Estate Wealth Academy. And you have to see, you know, how you can see he's up, this is over, you know, 1,500 members, which is fantastic. Tell us about how long have you had this up, and how this is morphed?
Right. So I started just as COVID started. So what I was doing was I was doing monthly workshops at Lighthouse Escrow, and they allowed me their facility similar to this, and then to bring in people, because I would go to these monthly other network groups, but what I found, there was a missing element. People motivated, but then they're left hanging.
Yeah.
So my whole thing was, like, come to mine, where yes, you may hear, you know, you may learn something, but then I'm going to set up one-on-one time with individuals. Sign up, and I follow with individuals throughout the week. And that was my thing prior to COVID. Come to monthly workshop, sign up, and I meet with them during the week, one-on-one consults and stuff, right? Then COVID hit. I thought, okay, we can't meet in person anymore. I got to do something. So that's where I created a group. So this group was probably created last January. So it's just over a year and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And just slowly kind of like shifting everyone and say, well, we can't meet in person anymore. Come to the group. And on there, I just share stuff. So things about real estate, interviews, content. And then that's kind of like where I lead people towards, hey, you want to know things about real estate? I may come to this group, learn about it, and then we'll connect from that.
Well, and I've seen you do the Facebook Live interviews and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, you know, a lot of agents I talk to, what they miss, and I want you to speak to this in a way, is they're focused on saying, I need to make a sale today. Okay. I need to make a sale today. So the mindset is, I need to talk to someone that's ready and willing and able, that I can go show a house,
Right,
and we're gonna, make offers this weekend because I need money right now.
right.
Now, how would you counsel mindset versus see what you were doing with this lighthouse, using that,
Right.
and having the people come in? That's not the same mindset.
No,
Right.
I think it's important that people realize, especially as agents, you're a farmer, you're planting seeds. And when a farmer plants seeds, the next day, I mean, the seeds don't just pop. It may take months before something will sprout. And not every seed will sprout,
Yeah.
So I think it's like having that mindset, okay, I'm gonna do this work, but it's a long-term thing. It's not gonna happen instantaneously. But that's why it's important to constantly be farming, and nurturing, your farm, because we all need to survive and bring in enough income to live off of. But, if you only have one lead, I mean, then you're kind of, all your focus is you have to close that, so you can't pay your bills type of thing. So I think it's important that we have this long-term mindset. This is the reality of it. So if you're just starting off, there's going to be a ramp up time. It may take upwards to a year type of thing, right? For more, you got to plant those seeds, nurture them, and then things will start sprouting. For example, we just closed on that client, Frank.
Yeah.
So I met Frank like 2.5 years ago at one of these network events here in Orange County. And then we just stayed in contact. And then initially he's looking to buy a rental properties out of state. I actually connected with him with an agent in North Carolina, and he actually did go and buy a couple of rental properties out of state, right?
Yeah.
Because he just felt like, I don't want to buy anything locally. But circle back, he contacted me a few months ago. I think we're ready to buy something locally.
Yeah.
I mean, great, so just I stayed in touch with him 2-3 times a year, connecting, how are things, catch up, things are good, how COVID and stuff. Reach out to me, and then we just closed about a week ago and stuff, right? So, that was a 2-year situation, right?
Yeah.
But if I met him, I closed him that month, I'm like, it's never gonna happen, right? And people can feel that vibe where I feel pressured. I mean, this person's too much,
Right.
they don't want, they don't want to feel that.
We call it commission breath.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, that's
Well,
important.
see, and the thing, about that to me that is so critical to grasp is that if you're just chasing transactions where it's one transaction after another, I mean, there's two bad things that are going to happen with that. Is number one is you're never going to build a business. That's just not the way businesses operate. You're never going to build a significant group of loyal followers, people that are going to refer you clients. You're just going to just chase that transaction. So that's the first thing, is you're really just in chase mode all the time, and you're not building a business. Number two, because you're in this chase mode and you're not building anything, is it's really hard to survive down markets. Because when things start to slow down, you don't have a kind of a storeroom or a warehouse of clients. When it's Tom's use that the farming analogy. See, that's exactly what this is. It's not the traditional farming that agents think of, hey, I'm knocking doors and I have my little track, right? But it's still farming.
Yeah.
Because as you said, when you're getting into this kind of marketing and planting all these seeds, and the seed you're planting is your name and your value in their mind, right?
Right.
And the other part to this that to me is so critically important as a sales, because I know all of you want to do more and more business, make more and more money, though, is these are seeds. The seeds that you're planting are seeds of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that is the big shift. So what I want you to kind of coach these agents on is the difference between just talking about a house as a commodity,
right,
and the knowledge and the education that you're bringing to them. So what are those seeds of knowledge that you try to plant?
That's huge. I think people will appreciate and value that much more when you're educating them about investing in real estate. It brings so much more to the table. So when I sit down with a client, I'm like just understanding where they are financially, but then it's like, well, you have options. It may not necessarily be go and buy that home, your dream home.
Well, okay, from a conversational kind of prospecting type thing, how do you start the conversation that gets people's interest? And
a lot of times, Mark, they see what I'm doing. So it's kind of like they're reaching out to me to say, hey, I saw something you did. So it's not like a hard push, me kind of like having them I really, they've already seen what I'm
Because they've
putting
seen
out
your
there.
educational marketing.
Right. They
Yeah.
see that I'm putting stuff out there. I know I'm talking about, and it piques their interest. And it's not the standard thing where they're seeing other agents talking about. It's not like a listing. Hey, look at my new listing, or just sold a home. Like that's what most agents are showing the audience. But if it's like educating, hey, if you invest in a property, I'm like, this is the kind of wealth you can create in 5-10 years, or talking about rental, or talking about different types of investment strategies.
Yeah.
And we talked offline about like, oh, how is this additional business like now in commercial realm, that sort of thing. Well, because when I sit down with a client and understand like, they may not want to move, they're happy in their home, but now it's like, well, what other options are there? So I kind of explore and ask questions, and all of a sudden it's like, well, they have a business and maybe they want to consider purchasing something for their business. Why pay their rent? It's a huge fabrication facility and they're paying $1,000 of rent. Well, but owning the building, that's another option.
Thomas, what percentage of your time would you say is allocated toward kind of hardcore cold call prospecting?
None.
That's what I thought. Okay, now we're going to repeat that.
Yeah.
Okay, Thomas's time allocated toward cold calling is 0, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Most salespeople don't believe that is possible, but it's absolutely possible, because here's what Thomas is doing, and it's the same thing we're doing with the Wealth Academy, is the reason is it's not necessary if you bring value, right?
Exactly.
And the value I'm talking about is, and here's the big shift, is educational value.
Mm-hmm.
There's a thing called intellectual value. What you know. Why do we go to a doctor? Because they have intellectual value. They know what they're doing. Intellectual value. So the big shift as an agent is to go from this mindset of, I'm a commodity salesman, I sell houses, and I talk about bedrooms and bath, and I'm bringing very little intellectual value, to that is massive rejection, because anybody can do that. But then you shift over to what Thomas is doing and bringing educational, intellectual value, things that people need, because they don't know this stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and now you're differentiating yourself, as an expert in not just houses. Yeah, the houses become kind of incidental. It's in the wealth growth, the financial security, and so on, right?
Right.
I was just thinking really quick, if I can interject, is what most agents are taught to do is get rejected, right? But
Right.
what Thomas is doing and what we preach is attract.
Right.
You don't have to go through the rejection process. That's why we say rejection-free selling, because by just based on the information that you're putting out there, you're attracting people to you. You don't have to go through the rejection process at all. The other thing I'll say about that is the clients that we get, not just with Thomas, but with others that are involved with us, they're super nice. They're super grateful. It's not like they're not upset. They're not frantic. They're not frustrated. They're just calm, because I feel like having that longer term goal, it just kind of calms everything down. It makes it less anxious. It's like, okay, we had a long-term plan.
Yeah.
We're not just having to rush to go buy something right this minute for no reason.
Yeah.
We have a reason behind it. So
I like that.
that'd be nice.
We'll talk about your consultations, okay? When you get into so now we talked about the marketing, now you're getting into the conversation, now you get into an appointment.
Sure. I think it's important that people need to leverage what you're doing. A lot of agents need to leverage, because for me, I've been actively investing for a long time, so I can maybe come from a different position than maybe the traditional realtor. So a lot of the concept you're teaching, I kind of already know. However, it's so much easier when I bring someone and leverage you at your office and kind of have like a third person say, look, it's not me just saying it, like listen to Mark type of thing. And all of a sudden, Mark, you have your PowerPoint slides, and then you have your in-depth chart, a spreadsheet, which kind of goes into like the numbers. People like numbers, they want to see, well, yeah, if I want to retire in 20 years from now, like what does that mean? Reverse engineer it. This is how much income I'm going to need. So your spreadsheet shows that, a calculator. So yeah, I think it's important that the consult, as much as possible, you leverage Mark and his team, because ultimately, yeah, you guys are going to be able to kind of lay it out, like, plug in the numbers, helping them understand that like your retirement income, it's going to look like now if you were to retire versus kind of like if we had a plan in place.
Now, Thomas, I want you to address the difference. See, most agents have no idea what you're talking about with this consultation, because they've never seen it. They really don't have any conceptual idea of what you just described there. But rather than talk about what I want you to talk about is the difference. What the typical agent does, which is, it's just, okay, what do you want to buy? What are you interested in?
Right, pre-approved.
And then when you do the consultation, when we do those consultations, it's a game changer, but why is it a game changer? What changed with that client?
We're changing their future trajectory. We're changing their family's legacy. They're changing their futures ultimately. So we're putting a plan in place for financial freedom, for retirement income, which most agents aren't talking about. Like you mentioned, most agents are like, all right, you want to buy a house? What kind of house you're looking to buy? Let's make sure you're pre-qualified and let's go find that 4-bedroom house that you want.
Right.
Whereas in our consult, it's like, all right, where are you currently financially? Because real estate is a vehicle. It's a tool that you can use to create wealth. So once that light bulb goes up, what do you mean? Because most people are talking about real estate, they think about just buying a house.
Yeah.
That's it, real estate, house. We're not taught in school that real estate is a tool to create wealth. People don't look at it as a stock market or investing in that way. Most people.
So for you as an agent, what's in it for you? Just kind of from a selfish perspective, doing this well, because you talked about everything that's really in it for the consumer. But what is really the upside or the benefit to you and your business and your career by doing these consultations?
Well, number one, by educating the people, they're going to have more loyalty to you. They're going to say, well, no other agent is talking about what I'm talking about. So let's just stick with this guy. And then, it's most likely going to transfer into more than one transaction. And you probably get a lifetime client. And then you get referrals through because they've had such, they've had success in a way that they may not necessarily have gotten from other agents in the past. So it's just, yes, we get paid at the end. So that's another important point to make. It's not like, like all deals, like we put a client into a purchase, so we're only getting paid once a deal closes. And then this may take a little longer. I think that's important because we're not necessarily going day one, going to find a 4-bedroom house. It may require some credit repairs. It may require the saving some more funds. It may require the moving. So it may involve other steps that the traditional agent not made accustomed to. However, long term, the loyalty will be there, the referrals will come, and I think ultimately you feel more fulfilled. Like now we've just sold them a house. Now we're setting them up and their family up for their futures.
Speak about referrals. Have you seen the referrals from people?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you mentioned Elijah, so he referred me his cousin, and then I'm working with his cousin now. And it's just great. It's just kind of like a layup. Like, hi, you got to use, my cousins are looking to buy a house. I mentioned you because you just did an amazing deal for me last year. So now they're looking to buy. So yes, referrals will come. And it's just kind of like, it's not like, again, your standard kind of referral because of the way we're laying things out, I think is important.
Now, the other major difference between you and other agents is the diversification. How did that happen? How did you, because I see you involved with from, we have a manufacturing client that you're working with.
Right.
That is so.
Right. And I just went in escrow this week on a land deal type of thing, right?
Yeah. And I remember there was another commercial one. I forget that young guy.
Yes. It was a fabrication company looking to find.
But how did that happen? And how do you foster that? And,
Again, I think it comes from the conversations. Once you sit down with people and you're really trying to understand who they are, what they're all about, it's not like, forget about buying your house. I get that. Maybe a client wants to buy a house, but let's really understand the whole big picture. Where are you currently financially? What's your game plan? When are you looking to retire? Or what's your future? Like, are you happy? Are you looking to retire in 20 years, in 5 years? When you start understanding this, then you can start preparing different types of deals, different opportunities. So like I mentioned, they may already be satisfied with their house. They may not want to move, but then, or you transact a deal and we close and then something else like, well, listen, I'm interested, or someone I know is looking. Like the one referral was from a client that they say, hey, you helped me. Now this client, this friend of mine, he's got a business and now they're looking for a facility for their business. So again, it's through referrals, but also through the consults, it'll come up because it's not just, again, just their home, it's the bigger picture will come from that.
Well, it's in, this, because I know you market yourself as a real estate wealth advisor.
Right.
And it just, it sounds like that they take that to heart, that they see the differentiation. And basically what I hear you saying is that because you're having a different conversation, because
Mhm.
it's not just about the limitation of the house, it's about the wealth growth and so on, that's kind of morphed into the diversification that you've been able to accomplish.
True. I think one thing more I need to add is I'm also showing people the deals I'm doing for myself. So it's not just showing stuff I've done for clients, but I'm also actively investing myself. So like I'm in the process of closing an Aplex. I closed on a 6-unit last month. In January, I partnered with some people closing a 22-unit building. So, and I'm showing that, I'm sharing that. Again, it kind of puts in people's mind like, all right, so Thomas isn't just a salesperson. Thomas isn't just telling me to do this. He's actually doing it himself.
Right, right.
So that's more confirmation for the people who are watching or for the clients. Okay, this guy isn't just talking the talk, he's walking it as well.
Right, right. Yeah, well, which is huge.
Right. So I think that people need to understand that. As a realtor, I'm like, you need to consider for your own self and your family's benefit to be invested in real estate. Because then you share. You know, I shared a story about how I got my parents on track. My parents, in like 30 seconds, my parents were in their late 60s, and my dad was constantly working, thinking about retirement. He's like, I can't retire because the minute I stop, type of thing, right? And he was a small business owner and so forth, worked like whatever, 45, 50 years type of thing. Didn't have this huge pension waiting for them. So I told him, I mean, you need to sell your principal residence, the house we grew up in, cash in the chips, go rent for a while, and then let's explore finding some income properties. So this whole process took about 5 or 6 years, but they listened. We went from them going from like maybe having a few $100,000 of equity to transferring that, I mean, selling their home, well, maybe $400,000 or $500,000 of equity, transferring that into several multi-units. And now they've got a portfolio of probably about, you know, I would say $2.5, $3 million and bringing in like, you know, gross income of about $20,000 a month type of thing, right?
Yeah, well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and now they're in their, you know, in their mid 70s, you know, a 73 thing, and now they've got something which, you know, they can sit back, income's coming in, they don't have to work. My dad retired like 4 years ago, type of 4 or 5 years ago, like right after we did all this, income's coming in. And now he's almost bored. Now he's looking for opportunities himself. It's like, what are you doing? Oh, I want to buy this. He wants to start building homes. I'm like in his 70s now and stuff, right? Because he sees now, he's gone through this experience and he's seeing, wow, this is a game changer. Like something I bought like, you know, a few years ago is like worth almost double now. It's mind blowing, right?
You know, that reminds me of Thomas. I gotta share this with all of you. You know, is that Thomas is a real Italian. Thomas took the best, longest vacation of any top agent I've ever known. How long were you in Italy?
We had 6 weeks. We were gone a month in Italy and 2 weeks in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, who does that? You know, I mean,
that was amazing.
Well, yeah, it was awesome. I was watching all these pictures on envy, right? But you know, and I share that with you because see, why do we work?
Right.
I mean, why do you go to work? To build the best life possible. And that is not going to happen if you're just chasing one person after another. That's called the rat race. And it doesn't have to be that way. And this is a living example of the solution. The path to the life that you want is bringing intellectual value to other people's lives so you can elevate their life.
Yeah.
And the thing is as you just heard, Tom's only been in the business, you know, as a licensed agent for 4 years, and his business is, you know, his trajectory is an incredible rate. Now, one last thing I want you to talk about, because I personally hear this and it drives me crazy, but I'm going to guarantee you what people are watching this saying. I'm not Thomas. Thomas is better looking than I am. Thomas is more charismatic than I am. I can't speak in front of a group of people. And it's all that negative stuff, you know, about they're saying, I can't do this. Okay. I should talk to these people because they can do it.
Yes, you guys can all do it. And like I mentioned, you need to leverage Mark and his team. You know, all you really need to do is bring people to Mark. Mark can do most of the talking and heavy lifting. And I think that's the key. Too often we want to do everything ourselves. You know, we want to be like that person for the client. I get it. But until you really understand this whole idea of creating wealth through real estate and maybe done some deals for yourself, I think you really need to bring the client to Mark, because once you do that, it's pretty much just hand them off. We sit down. I don't even talk most of the time, right? Like you do all talking, and it's like great. And then we start moving forward.
Yeah, when we started the Markland Real Estate Wealth Academy, my original plan was to train the agents to do these wealth consults. And I could see the fear in a lot of the agents saying, well, hey, this is too many numbers, it's too complicated, because there is a lot of moving parts. And so I said, okay, that's not going to work. So I said, look, I'll do the wealth consultations, and Lorini and I started doing the wealth consultations. And here's what's evolved from that I didn't expect. It is so much easier, and when you're sitting with using kind of the key talking points about wealth growth, about retirement and so on, and say, hey, let's bring in a third-party expert. It's a lot like, a lot of you as agents will bring in an account, say, hey, you'll talk about tax benefits of real estate, but say, look, I'm not a CPA, let's bring a CPA in, right? Or you're talking about a trust, look, I'm not a trust attorney, let's bring a trust. It's exactly the same premise to say, we talk about the real estate, let's bring in a real estate wealth expert, and then we get into the appointment.
Yeah.
And we whether we do it in person or online, the result is the same. But it's as Tom said, it's just a game changer, because now you have radically differentiated yourself. And this other point of positioning yourself as a real estate wealth advisor, you can hear Thomas talk about how it has diversified his clientele from just houses to all kinds, and these are bigger deals, right?
Yes,
much bigger deals, which means bigger dollars and a lot less competition. Because I don't know. Well, let me ask your opinion on this, Thomas. What percentage of residential real estate agents would touch these different commercial?
Very small. Yeah, very small.
It's less than 5%, don't you think?
Yeah.
So you eliminate like 95, 96, 97% of your competition, because the rest of them are just like, no, I don't want any part of it. And these are things, and by the way, I've done all that stuff, and so Thomas and I, we work together on these things. So if you get a commercial or industrial or something that's kind of oddball, apartment unit, don't be afraid. Don't just say, oh my God, this is out of my element. It's just a phone call. You just say, hey, you know what? Someone asks you, hey, I got a commercial deal, or I got, I have something that's big, whatever it is. Just say, hey, I got, hold on a sec, let me do some research, and I'll get you the answers that you need. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to point out that I had Lori Hepler's online with us. Lori, I know you had your hand up. We probably have some questions for you.
Awesome, let's
so
do
I
it.
wanted to take a pause. If you have a question for Thomas, it's probably easier with the number of people online right now for you to just type it into the question box, and then I'll repeat the question so you can get your questions answered. I want to, so look at your like toolbar on GoToWebinar, type in questions so we can get those answered. So Lori, I know you had your hand up. I'm sorry. She's got her hand up again. I'm going to see, Lori, if I can unmute you, okay? And let's see if we can have you ask your question. Actually, if you could unmute yourself, Lori, we could probably hear you. And then while we're working on this, what I was thinking about with regards to Thomas's business is it's very similar to what we've been telling agents. We've got this, you have to evolve as a real estate agent. Otherwise, Zillow is going to take all your business away from you.
Yeah, well,
right?
great point.
So my question for you, Thomas, is how many times does one of your consultations turn into, oh, hey, thanks for the information, Thomas. I'm going to go buy this place over here and I'm not going to use you. What percentage of your consultations turn into secured business, do you think?
Well, once we get into a consult, I think it's very high.
Yeah.
They may not transact in the next month. They may take like months later, but
how many people are turning away and saying, never mind, thanks for the info, Thomas,
right.
I'm going to go someplace
yeah,
else.
very small.
Yeah,
very small.
it's a slim number, right?
Yeah.
But if you're out there, working in the rat race like everybody else is, that's a high percentage of people that you're going to encounter that you might have a conversation with, or even sit down with somebody and have your typical real estate, consultation, how many bedrooms, how many baths.
Right.
And then the likelihood of them leaving you and going to transact someplace else is extremely high. So I think it's just, we, as an industry, as real estate agents, we have to evolve because technology is evolving. And if we don't evolve ahead of technology, Zillow's not going to sit down with your client and project a retirement plan.
No, that's why this is a game changer.
Well.
That's ultimately is a game changer, because none of the Zillow, Redfin, all these companies, I mean, they're just doing the basic traditional kind of model. So what we're talking about here is like,
they can't compete.
Yeah, it's 10x.
Yeah, they can't compete with it.
Okay, so
Do
here's
it,
the
Lori?
question. Oh, she
Okay.
said she accidentally raised her hand. Okay, and she said you'd like to hook up with a lender. So you, Lori, for sure, we'll touch base with you after today's meeting and we can talk to you about that. She said, I forget how great this info is. That's awesome. Thanks for that plug, Lori. We appreciate that. Okay, anybody else, if you have a question for Thomas or Mark, go ahead and type it into your question box.
Show Thomas's landing page real quick.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of we're constantly test marketing different things, and we've updated you our messaging, and you'll see here's I'm going to share with all of you the updates that we've made. But you can see homeowners retire without saving money through real estate. Calling out homeowners are the sweet spot. Those are really the people that you want as clients because they have the capacity to, they've already bought, they have the capacity to turn into investors, to buy over and over. Most of their friends are homeowners. They have better referrals all the way around. Hitting homeowners, we've started a whole campaign targeted toward homeowners and asking homeowners, would you, as a homeowner, would you be interested in learning how you could retire without saving money? That's a powerful question, and it creates curiosity. And you can see on the line pages how on the left, there's Thomas's video. Videos this Friday, right?
Yep, this
So
Friday.
yeah, so we're doing more landing page videos this Friday, but you can see email Thomas to schedule the wealth consultation. On the right, the most powerful part of the consultations that we do is the poker chip presentation about the 5 economic benefits of real estate. And that's what I've learned is that long videos, long presentations that are recorded, no one watches them. So we pulled that, and here's what we put is it's a 7-minute presentation of just how the wealth growth of real estate works using the 5 economic benefits. But you can see the title, Find Out Why Real Estate Blows Away the Stock Market. This statement, you need to use this statement. I use this all the time. 65% of the people have their money in the 401k or IRA because they believe stocks are superior to real estate. So my point is I like to make statements. To me, it's kind of like picking a fight, where I take my index finger and I push them in the chest metaphorically, and I'll say, look, real estate blows away the stock market. You're going to grow wealth at 3 to 4 times the speed of your stocks, right? You know that, right? Well, what happens when I say that? I'm picking a fight. They go,
right. What do you mean?
Yeah, what are you talking about? I got a 401k. I got a financial advisor. Well, I'm sorry about that. I really feel bad for you. And then they kind of look and say, look, I can prove to you unequivocally, undeniably, that what you're doing is the wrong thing, and that real estate it will blow away the stock market. It's not even close. You have this on your landing page, you show it, and then and this speaks to what Tom said, when it comes from a third party, then it's like, okay, watch this presentation now so that you don't get Tom doesn't get a bunch of fake leads. Go to mine. Go to Mark Prather, REWA, and register and watch the presentation. And if you don't have one of these land pages and you want one, let us know, because you're crazy not to have one of these.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute too, because so Lori's asking, where can we buy? I love that word, buy, Lori. Where can we buy the material for sellers? It's free. We don't sell it actually. So what we do is we send out marketing pieces to you all the time. So if you are not familiar with our marketing, this is going to segue into our agent launch presentation, which is today's Tuesday, so it's tomorrow. We changed it from Thursday to Wednesday because 2 back-to-backs wasn't working for me. So tomorrow at 10 a.m., I'm going to walk you through all of the resources that we have, and it's a lot. You're going to be blown away. So there's nothing for you to buy unless you want to set up a landing page. It's $100 just for the setup of your landing page. But outside of that, we don't charge you for this. So what we want to do is we want to create the relationship with you. We want to get your prospects into a consultation, and we're going to just do the loan. So I don't know any lender that's offering that kind of service out there. So that's first and foremost. But I love that question, Lori. So thank you for posing that, because we don't charge for this stuff. And the content that we push out to you So if you're sitting here looking at Thomas and thinking, oh my gosh, Thomas knows all this stuff and I don't know all of this stuff, and he can do his Facebook stuff because, he's got all this knowledge and I don't. We give you the information. We don't even, Mark writes the majority of it, scripts, dialogues, newsletters, email content, video content, you name it. It's already pre-done for you. And it makes you sound and look like an expert. And then all you have to do is connect them with us. And we do the rest of the heavy lifting for you. So it's.
Yeah, the other thing I would encourage you to do is, if you don't already have my book, get my book. We have plenty of them. We'll give you the book. I'm not trying to sell you the book, although if you want to go to full retail, then that's okay too. But we'll give you the book. Let's just book an appointment. But read chapter 3 and 4. It'll take you all of 30. Now, if you're a reader, read the whole thing. But I know a lot of people aren't readers. So if you just read chapter 3 and 4, it'll give you the talking points that you're going to need project as this real estate wealth expert. That's really the key to this. Is you just have to master the conversation, but it's an easy conversation, and we have the scripts and the marketing pieces. We have some new marketing pieces for you. Yeah. And when you start this in 1 year, Thomas has 1,500 people. And how much is that costing you per month for that audience?
Nothing.
Zero.
Facebook is free.
Zero. Now, it's got to tell you something. In 1 year, 12 months, he's taken this, created this Facebook page and has 1,500 members in 1 year. What does that tell you about the interest level of the content? People are interested in making money through real estate.
Yeah.
It's out there and you have almost no competition. So, what we're doing is it works powerfully. Thomas is living proof of it. So we're going to close here in a minute. Thomas, is there anything, any last parting words you want to share?
No, I think, the leverage of you and your team, I think, is key. If you can get anything, yes, maybe I may not be ideal example because of the experience I had from before, but that's fine. The content, material, and all the information that Mark and Serena have, I think you guys need to leverage that. And just like Serena said, if you're pushing it out there, this information, if you're communicating with your leads or your database, then it's just a matter of just setting up the one-on-one, and then that's it. So your only job is to get as many people as possible in front of Mark, and then the magic will happen from that. And then you got a client for life. I think that's key.
Yeah, and Elijah, got a new listing from Elijah coming up pretty quick here, right? That's going on the market for. Yeah. I bet probably $615. I bet this thing sells for $825.
Maybe even higher. Maybe even higher. Maybe even higher.
All right, Tom. Thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, last thing before we close, Serena, we have an event this Thursday, a consumer event, Thursday night. Let's show them on the website where that's at. Our whole strategy, it starts with differentiate yourself with the things that Thomas talked about. We want to get you to your landing page. We have to differentiate you. It is so powerful. So if you don't have one of these landing pages, you got to have one. You have to start positioning up as a real estate wealth advisor. And we get into these conversations. Mary Landucci was on, and Mary will tell you. In fact, Mary, we're gonna have you come. Mary had a client who is renting, who wanted their landlord is going to be selling the property. Their lease is coming due. I think it's June 30th or no, yeah, June 30th. Their lease is coming due, and they're going to wait a year. And then Mary sent them over. I got into a conversation. I said, go to my landing page, because Mary's wasn't up yet. I said, watch my little poker chip presentation on why real estate blows away the stock market. It's going to blow your mind. And then I said, go to my other presentation, why renting is a financial disaster.com. Watch those presentations, and then let's talk again. So we had that conversation about a week ago, sometime middle of last week or something. He watched those videos, and when he registered on my landing page to watch it, then I got notified, so I knew he was watching it. Then he went to the other one, watched that one, and now we talked about it. He says, okay, I get it, I need to buy. He said, he goes, Mark, when I watched that why renting is a financial disaster presentation, he goes, my stomach dropped and I just got sick about all the money I've lost.
That's what happens, yeah.
Yeah, he goes, I just was literally sick. So He said, what do we do now? I said, well, let's get you pre-approved and we'll get you an escrow. And he's like, his only worry was, hey, can we close by June 30th? Now look at that shift from, oh, I'm going to wait a year to can we close by June 30th? And I said, yeah, we're going to get you an escrow. Mary will get you an escrow this month. It gives us 30 days for escrow. We have plenty of time. Let's get after it. And so we got all this stuff and we're going to get him pre-approved and off to the races. But what's the difference? We didn't talk about houses. We didn't talk about bedrooms and baths. That will come later. People need to understand why they're doing something. If they don't understand the why, they're not going to do it. And it's Thursday night.
It is Thursday, so just a quick update. We had the date for Wednesday. It was incorrect, so that's been corrected. So it's Thursday, May 13th.
Is that the renting one?
Yes.
Okay, it's this one, yeah. This is the,
disaster.
okay.
So anyways, tune in tomorrow, you guys, if you want to find out more about how to get people registered for this event. We have personalized links for you, so you don't have to go through the website, so you can track people that you've sent to these recordings.
Yeah, personalized exclusive.
Yes.
Okay, so all the leads just go to you, only you.
Yeah, you'll get a list of everybody that registered under your link once we get all the registrations in. So it's really.
Oh, can I make one more last announcement? I'm really excited about. You know, Thomas talked about all the developments involved, and I know some of you are going, God, that sounds great, that sounds impressive, and I don't have that. Now you do. Here's why. I'm excited to announce I got all my paperwork finalized with our attorneys just yesterday, as a matter of fact. Been working on this. We've created the Mark I Real Estate Wealth Academy Real Estate Development. It's our real estate development arm. Okay, and here's how this will work: is you can bring investors in, and the truth of it is what's happened is that I got out of the stock market. I got a lot of money sitting on the sidelines. And I started looking at this going, what do I want to do with this money? And so I said, you know what? I'm going to go back into development. I did this, before the meltdown, and then I got out and sat on the sidelines for a while. But anyway, now we're starting the development company again, where we're going to be acquiring properties, and my money will be in every one of these deals. But it's positioning you where you can go to investors and say, and talk to people and say, look, if you don't have enough money, let's say they don't have, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 to do something, but they have 50,000, 100,000, something like that, they can participate and they'll get a return on that, and then they share in the profits and so on. So we're going into real estate development full blown. I'm going to be doing a special training and introduction on that. I need about at least a week, probably 2 weeks, and just to get everything all situated. And we'll introduce you to all of that. But again, this is position where you talk about, hey, I'm a real estate wealth advisor. By the way, we do real estate development. Doesn't that sound impressive? And it's all true.
I love it.
All right, thank you guys.
Yep, really quick too, before we sign off, everybody's asking, sign up for the webinar. Is this webinar being recorded? Look for a follow-up email from today. We do this every week. It's not just today, but every week we do a follow-up email after training, before the end of the day, but early in the day usually. And you can watch this presentation again. You'll see links in there that will be the setup links for this Wednesday's launch meeting and Thursday's coaching session. And so it's all in this follow-up email. So look for it. If you're not, you should all be receiving it. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.